Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. It's President's Day, and we're working, Tony. Is that fair?
I'm Tony Kornheiser, whatever. I am mailing this one in.
No, you can't say you're mailing it in.
I went out on Saturday and Sunday.
You played golf.
65, 70-degree weather. I played golf. I played 36. I walked. You hear me cough?
Yeah.
I'm paying the price for it now. My cold is back. I'm sneezing. I'm dripping.
Karma.
This is not good.
For you playing golf while I was recovering from the meds. Golf, 70 degrees,
Sunday,
Northeast corridor.
70 in the
Now
Northeast.
You got it.
Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Vlade Divac is panned, Coach Cal is peeved, and Goose Gossage, your boy, is salty. But we begin today with the only real news out of the NBA All-Star Game, that Boogie Cousins was traded to the New Orleans Pelicans for a bunch of guards and draft picks. This means that 6'11 Cousins will be on the floor with 6'10 Anthony Davis. Wilbon, are you convinced this makes the Pelicans a force in the West?
A force?
Yeah.
No, it's not going to make them a force.
No.
It means they might get to the 8th spot. I think they should get to the 8th spot in the West.
Well, if you can't get to the conference finals, you're not a force.
Right. So
you're not a force.
They can be a force down the line because they made this acquisition if they come up with a guard.
They got no guards. They traded all their guards.
People are going to get angry at me, perhaps, but there's a guy named Chris Paul who's going to be a free agent. If you get a guard like him,
played there in New
him,
Orleans.
played New Orleans.
Yep.
A guy who can really maximize the skills, the physical skills of two big men who need to play in different areas. You get a floor general, a leader. Then you can be a force. You cannot be a force now.
You think there's enough space for a 6'10 and a 6'11 who are both dominating players?
With the right guard who can keep them in the areas they're supposed to be? That's a great question, Tony. That's the question, right? I mean, are they going to trample over each other?
Can they be David Robinson and Tim Duncan, or can they be much worse because they get in each other's way?
Or Akeem Olajuwon and Ralph Sampson. Now, Ralph liked to be out on the perimeter a little bit more like Anthony Davis.
All right.
You know, Ralph was the precursor to guys like Anthony Davis. People thought it was crazy then.
Not as good as Anthony Davis.
No.
Not as good.
But Anthony Davis knows how to play on the perimeter, and he doesn't need that box. Boogie Cousins harkens back to another time, almost to Shaq, and guys who needed to be on the low block and were happy to work hard down there. So I think they can exist.
I'm going to tell you something, that I'm sure of one thing.
What?
I am sure that Boogie Cousins is uncoachable. He went through 5 or 6 coaches in Sacramento.
I think
he didn't
6.
listen to any. He does not allow himself to be coached. And Alvin Gentry, who is your friend and my friend, Alvin Gentry is not going to be able to coach him because nobody's able to coach him. If I am New Orleans, I go right to the phone. I call John Calipari, and I say, how much money?
You just said nobody could coach him.
Calipari can. They coached each one in Kentucky before. How much money will it take? Because I know you've said you don't want to coach. Right. How much money will it take for you to coach these two guys who you recruited, who you love, because nobody else can coach them together?
There's an important
That's what
point to make here. This is counter to everything going on in professional basketball worldwide now. De-emphasis on size, shooting, spacing. You're going with two behemoths.
Old school.
This is old school. Yeah. I'm interested to see whether the experiment's going to work. Got to have coaching. Got to have some discipline. Haven't had that from Boogie Cousins.
Zero. What you've had is lead Western civilization in technical fouls.
But they're going to get to the 8th spot.
Great.
Well, let's see. They'll play the Warriors.
8th spot.
Let's see what happens.
They'll lose.
Boy, you're way out on a limb on that prediction. All right, Tony, I think most of us agree the Pelicans are a much more interesting team.
Maybe.
And probably on the verge of being a much better team as a result of this deal.
Maybe.
But let's look at the other side of it. Sacramento rid itself of an all-star and will wind up probably with a very high draft pick and rookie guard Buddy Hield. You know, I loved him last year.
Yeah, you love him.
Kings GM Vlade Divac, your boy, took a shot at Boogie's character after the deal was done. Tony, let's get to it. Did the Kings unload a no-impact troublemaker, or did the Kings get swindled?
Let me be very careful in the words that I choose. Sacramento's a clown show. They have nobody you want to see in a brand-new building that shouldn't have been built because the team shouldn't be in Sacramento, because the team should be in Seattle. The Sacramento Kings have not made the playoffs since 2006. They have not been any good since Chris Webber was there, and with Chris Webber, they won exactly nothing.
No,
they are the least relevant franchise in the NBA, and with the exception of the Jacksonville Jaguars, they may be the least relevant franchise in all of major sports.
Man, you just
Did I stutter? Did I stammer?
You know what, Tony? They didn't get swindled Because what they came to realize while they were lying through their teeth and denying what they were going to do with Boogie Cousins.
Within the last 48 hours they said, one, we will never trade him. Divac said that. And Cousins said, I want to stay here for the rest of the time.
Remember sometime last evening on the phone when you and I decided, well, we were not going to have a big Boogie Cousins news story today because they weren't going to get it done. Because that's what they said.
How many people lied going for that story?
They needed to, apparently, or they had to, because no one wanted him at the price. Look, Tony, this is 30 cents on the dollar. I like Buddy Hield. It's 30 cents on the dollar. But if it's all you can get, and if you got a new building, but you don't want to pay a guy $220 million,
Mike,
maybe you weren't swindled. Maybe you made the best deal you could make.
They didn't want Boogie Cousins for the long term. They did not want him because it would have cost them too much money. Man. There are small markets in the NBA. San Antonio is a small market. Oklahoma City is a small market. New Orleans is a very small market. They are miles ahead.
In organization, if David Stern was still commissioner, would this trade go through?
It would be reviewed.
Would he say, in the best interest of the league?
It would certainly be reviewed.
I just wonder about that.
For the fourth year in a row, the NBA All-Star Game produced the most combined points ever. Last night it was 374, and that's 192 to 182 final if you're counting. There were 75 dunks last night. The most in a regular season game this year is, 19. Of the 162 made field goals, 155 were dunks, layups, or threes. And Wilbon, this leads to an obvious question.
Yeah.
Was there enough defense for you?
Yeah. There's enough for me because I don't watch. I stopped watching the All-Star Game. I attended 20 consecutive, maybe. I loved the weekend. I loved all of it. The
when
pageantry,
you attended 20 straight, did you get some
a
blanket?
Special,
yeah, that's nice.
Patch they put on.
Players
are going to wear them, but
I love it.
I loved it all those years, and I came to a point where I don't love it because they don't attempt to play. I talked about this last year, Tony. I'm sure on the day we can go back, literally a year ago today, when you don't attempt to play at any point in the game, there's no point for me.
No.
For the players, good for them. They feel honored to be in it, but they're not playing. So the rest of us, in many cases, are not honored to watch because it's not basketball. It's not even entertaining when there's no resistance to the great physical skills that you're putting out there on display.
If you have children under the age of 15, it's a video game and it's wonderful.
Yeah, I do.
If you are old like we are, it is simply home run derby. Mm-hmm. It is not a basketball game. I stopped watching. I watched one full quarter, and I stopped watching when Russell Westbrook missed his third straight alley-oop ridiculous pass dunk that he slammed off something, and it didn't go in. Anthony Davis, it's not possible. It's simply not possible. He took 39 shots in 31 minutes. He broke Will Chamberlain's record for points in an All-Star game after campaigning in the locker room to win the trophy. And it's sacrilege if you mention Anthony Davis in the same sentence as Will Chamberlain. I don't care how good Anthony Davis is. This is not Westbrook, 41 points in 20 minutes, not a game.
For years, there have been opportunities, windows where the league could have done something. The NHL did this because they had the same thing. They have 14, 12 games. And they said, you know what, this doesn't work. Let's do something else. And the league won't move off of this. I remember getting to these discussions with David Stern about try something different. U.S. versus the world, which you could have done years ago when guys like Ginobili and Parker were really young. But now, what now? What are they going to do? What would you do? They're not going to play defense, and they don't want to do it.
It becomes a video game, and kids like it. Kids like it. It had high ratings. Kids like it. Let it go. Okay. Doesn't mean you have to
do it in my house, but,
Let's go.
As we creep, just a sick old man today. As we creep toward the glory of March Madness on one hand and coaches under fire on the other, the latter lit John Calipari's fuse. His Wildcats had just beaten Georgia and Mark Fox, who's on a hot seat, and heard plenty about NC State's Mark Gottfried, who was just fired last week. And Cal said, quote, "We're firing coaches in midseason. Are you bleeping kidding me?" Close quote. Tony, are you siding with the schools paying out millions to coaches to win games or else? Or Cal, who is standing up for his peers?
I'm not siding with Cal on this particular one. You get fired when you get fired. You get paid off when you get fired. That's the way it works. In the pros, I mean, is he just talking about college?
Because in the pros, just college.
Okay, so let's talk about college because he must be talking about the special relationship between the university and their student athletes, right? He must be talking about the fact that he can make $5 or $6 million as a coach every year while his labor force makes, correct me if I'm wrong, $0. He must be talking about the fact that college coaches are all the time angling for their next job to leave those players they've recruited when they sat in the parents' home and said, "I'm with your kid for 4 years," and then they just walk out. No, I have no sympathy For this particular thing, I like John Calipari a lot, but on this particular issue being fired, no sympathy. Maybe you do.
No, it's not about sympathy. I see it differently. I think that colleges ought to behave differently. We're told all the time.
They're more hypocritical than the pros.
That's right. And so in the pros, you know what you're getting. In college, you ought to know what you're getting, but you don't because they lie about it. So I don't like to see college coaches fired in the middle of the season because then the university has broken the promise made by the coach that I'm at least going to be here with your kid till June. But at that point, the coach doesn't have a chance to uphold his own promise because the university lied. So
his own promise would be, let me send a text to my players when I leave for another place.
I think that coaches ought to be fired at the end of a year if you want to relieve the coach. Now, I understand Cal standing up for his peers. We all do that. We all stand up for our peers to some degree.
Cal will never get fired in the middle.
Well, Cal could. I mean, if in a certain situation. But Cal made some great points here, Tony. He made a point about NC State and Godfrey getting to the tournament, I think 5 out of the last 6 years, twice to the Sweet 16. NC State, have they been that good since who? Valvano?
Who are they?
Who are they to fire this guy in the middle of the year?
I understand, but if you have a contract for employment and you pay off the employment and you pay somebody, gives him a better chance to get another job on some. I mean, I just think colleges, and I think you agree, are more hypocritical than the pros.
Yes, we agree completely.
Hall of Fame receiver Goose Gossage.
Or reliever. You got him catching passes.
Reliever.
You and the Shield. You love the Shield.
Not only can't I speak, but I need tea and I need medicine. Hall of Fame reliever Goose Gossage makes a bunch of snarky comments in an interview with New Jersey Advanced Media. Among them are shots at Aroldis Chapman and Mariano Rivera. Gossage, who relieved before the invention of the closer, said, quote, Chapman's great. Mo was great for 1 inning. Man. It shouldn't even be a save for 1 inning and a 3-run lead, and I'm not taking anything away from what Mo did, but don't compare me to him. It's insulting. It really is, unquote. Wilbon, is Gossage right that Rivera and Chapman should not be compared to him, or is he just a cranky old man screaming, get off my lawn?
More than one thing can be true.
Yes.
And they are in this case. I mean, Gossage has been cranky on these topics before. This is not the first time that the Goose has weighed in on something and, upset some people. But look, the game was just different. I mean, the notion of closer, we covered baseball in the 80s. We never even used the word closer.
No, there was no word.
It wasn't there. You believer, fireman, stopper, something like that. It wasn't closer.
No.
So Gossage, you're comparing apples to oranges. We do it anyway because that's what we do in sports. We compare what Ruth did to what Bonds did, even though they played, 70 years apart. So you can do it. He doesn't need to be this angry and insult Mariano Rivera.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to go there.
Bonds and Ruth played the position of hitter. There was a pitcher and there was a hitter. Tony La Russa changed the game of baseball.
He did.
Tony La Russa invented the closer with Dennis Eckersley. Handed him the ball at the beginning of the 9th. Didn't bring him in the 8th. Didn't bring him in the 7th. Goose Gossage, because I covered him, pitched a lot of 2- and 3-inning relief situations. If he got around the lineup once, he got hit the second time. A lot of guys get hit.
And by the way,
the second time
would be a spot starter if you had rain days or double headers or stuff like that. It's a different
game.
They
are not comparable positions.
No.
Now, I think Mariano Rivera is the greatest reliever of all time. But Gossage is right when he says it's much different to come in with inherited runners.
It is.
Or to be handed the ball at the top of an inning with nobody on. If you can't save that, Gossage is right. What do you do in the league?
He raised great points, like Cal did elsewhere in that discussion, about relief pitching and about pitchers being unable to go X number of innings nowadays. He raised great points about comparing the game, but he got a little sideways.
You're not comparing second base to second base.
No.
Reliever in the 70s and 80s.
Not different. It's not the same. Not the same.
Let's take a break. Coming up, is there really a thaw in the relationship between Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook?
One would hope so by now. God, please. And does Aaron Gordon deserve more credit than he's getting for trying this drone dunk?
This is so annoying to me that I am suddenly ill again.
He played too much golf.
It's really annoying.
This is, blame it on you. You in the heavens. You in the golf heavens.
I'm angry now. It's mail time, and today, if we read yours on the air, Wilbon will call you and tell you all about Northwestern's win over Rutgers, but not their loss to Maryland.
20th of the season.
Let me just see what's first.
We would move beyond that. 20th of the season, baby.
See what's first.
Moving on.
Did you sense a thaw in the Durant-Westbrook relationship this weekend?
Of course. The only reason I turned on for a second of the All-Star game was to watch to see what that interaction would be. And they talked about what had happened in the locker room pregame and whether they shoot around. It didn't matter. Only what happened in that game would matter. And when they set this play up between the two of them, that was great when when Durant kicked it back to Westbrook for the dunk.
Yep.
And then going back down the court and a little dap here and an acknowledgement there and the players making fun of both of them.
Yeah.
That was great. That was all I cared about in the game.
I don't sense any thaw. I think that Westbrook hates Durant. I think that Westbrook hates Curry. I think they made an instinctive basketball play that great basketball players make. But I want to praise Steve Kerr. He played them 82 seconds together, which is just enough for people like you to notice, and not too much so that if there was any hatred, it would spill over.
That's right.
I mean, I thought Steve Kerr managed that perfectly.
That story's over now.
I don't think they're past it,
I'm not saying they like each other yet, but the story's over. Enough of that.
Story's not over just because you say it is.
Yes, it is. It's over. It's over on this show.
Not for me.
Does Aaron Gordon deserve credit or ridicule for trying something different during the dunk contest?
It's hard for me to say firsthand because I didn't watch 1 second of the dunk contest.
But what's the one thing we talked about when you asked me?
And you said that Aaron Gordon almost did something revolutionary. He had a drone. The drone delivered the ball. Now, if he had jumped up, taken the ball from the drone, and simply dunked the ball, he walks up,
over.
He wins.
It's over.
But he let the drone drop the ball, and then he missed 83 dunks. Yeah. So he's subject to ridicule when what he should have done was simply jump up and take the ball.
He had won the weekend. Let the drone drop the lob into his hands. Dunk. That's a drop the mic. That's a drop the drone moment.
Drop the drone.
You just leave the gym.
Yeah.
There's no more scoring. You own it. You own Monday morning. We've been talking about any of these other stories.
He overthought it.
He overthought it. And this was a really smart thing to do.
Yes, he overthought it.
And he tried a difficulty degree done. No.
He overthought it.
No.
Do you think Jimmer Fredette's 73-point game in China will help him get any offers in the NBA?
No. This is not a situation where nobody in the NBA understands what Jimmer Fredette can do. And he was a great college shooter, and he had multiple opportunities in the NBA. I loved him. And one of those opportunities was for my Bulls,
New York
playoff team.
Albany.
And he 5.5 years. People in the league know what Jimmer can and can't do. I hope he gets another chance. But it's not like they don't understand who he is.
China is not the D League. Chinese basketball is inferior to the D League. He's had a bunch of shots. This is like going to AAA and hitting 350. It's a wonderful thing, but it doesn't mean you can hit Major League pitching. He's not quick enough to get his shot in the NBA. It's just the way it goes.
I feel bad, but
lovely player to watch.
Are you sure Chinese basketball league, the CBL, is not as good as the D League?
I'm sure of everything I say on this show.
And that's the scary thing.
In the moment that I say
boys and girls.
Yep.
Was it really such a bad thing that minor league hockey player Colin Chalk's number was retired upside down?
Well, here's the part I don't understand. There is a reveal, as you see right here, they reveal and it's upside down. Why are you then raising it to the rafters? Why would you do that?
For one reason.
Go.
They knew what they were doing.
So
it's a prank. They pranked him.
You don't think that he feels like an imbecile?
He's a 5-time MVP and a 5-time champion.
So you don't think he feels like an imbecile?
No, you can. If you have a good sense of humor about yourself, you can do this.
I didn't understand why they rose.
Don't you think that's why?
Well,
you can see, they can all see the numbers upside down.
Left with a lot of alternatives, that makes sense. But it also makes sense to me that they didn't know that when the reveal came that it was going to be upside down, and then they just panicked because they took it down and raised it back up right side, I think in the middle of the game.
Okay.
But, it's not that big a deal. Enough email. Let's take one last break. Still to come, Tony Romo reportedly turns down a job opportunity.
Let me guess where that was, touching a microphone. And an MMA fighter thinks a bad time to dance. What a fool. What a fool.
The guy's a dope.
And now, insurance-minded speeches from Geico.
It's a common expression, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. However, what if the horse's mouth is filled with useful insurance tools? This is the exact case with the Geico app. Yes, the app is free and therefore a gift horse. However, look inside the app and behold, emergency roadside assistance, digital ID cards, bill pay. Get the Geico app. Look it in the mouth. Get amazing services. Thank you.
Happy time, people having 90th birthday, Sidney Poitier. The great leading man won 1 Academy Award. Everyone my age assumes it was either for In the Heat of the Night or Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. No, he won for Lilies of the Field, and he wasn't nominated for those other 2 movies or for To Sir With Love, which is amazing to me.
Or No Way Out, Blackboard Jungle, Edge of the City, The Defiant Ones, Raise It in the Sun.
He was
great
Defiant Ones.
Defiant Ones. He was nominated for that?
Yes, he was.
Tony Curtis, is that who he was chained to?
Yes. Great movie.
All great movies. My favorite actor ever.
Happy anniversary, Gary Williams. On this day 7 years ago, Gravis Vasquez's half-court buzzer-beating game winner against Georgia Tech was waved off after a timeout had been inadvertently called by a Maryland assistant coach. After Williams calmed down, he drew up a play where Cliff Tucker sank the game winner. Gary Williams, a partner in the distinguished D.C. restaurant Chad's.
I mean, has any business enterprise ever gotten more free pub than this Chad's?
Happy trails to Joe Harding in the middle of this mixed martial arts fight in Essex, England over the weekend. One of the fighters decided it was a good idea to break into a dance after throwing a hot dog jab. In mid-dance, Mr. Harding is kicked in the face and knocked out. Hey, either you want to be a fighter or you want to be Fred Astaire. Choose one, stay with it.
Normally, the guy on the short end of that you feel bad for.
Not this time.
No, it was a dope.
By the way, I was at that game, that Georgia Tech-Maryland game.
It was
unbelievably thrilling.
Unreal.
Unbelievably thrilling. No errors today. We go to the big thing.
Let's do it.
Peter King says Tony Romo turned down a very good off-field job for next season. Your thoughts?
It's one job Tony Romo wants. He wants to start, preferably for a contender. So not a surprise. Alabama's going to reportedly hire Patriots tight ends coach Brian Daboll as their offensive coordinator. You like that?
They'll find out he's got some USC connection. They'll fire him after game 8. Dustin Johnson won the Genesis Open. Big deal?
The way he played in the second and third rounds, I thought it was a big deal, actually. Yankees reliever Dylan Betances says he felt trashed by the Yanks in the arbitration hearing that he lost. Trouble?
No, he lost. And if he's looking for sympathy, don't go to Goose Gossage.
No, I think
because you're not going to get any. Last one, Gonzaga remains #1 in the latest college basketball poll. Are they finally on board with you?
You know, I told you a couple of weeks ago. I got over it.
Yes. I'm losing twice.
Come on.
We're out of time.
That's weeks ago, dude.
Trying to do better the next time. And I'm Tony Kornheiser.
Update your phone. I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads. Check out the PTI podcast on iTunes.
7:30 tonight.
What happened?
Trivia. Good night, Canada.